Jimmy John's and the sandwich. The world doesn't have many billionaire sandwich makers. The world certainly doesn't have many billionaire sandwich makers that graduated second last in their high school class. But Jimmy John Liautaud is very much in the club. How he got there is interesting. In a social environment where the term cold cut would more likely be in reference to the finish of a suit, you might be wondering how you get there selling sandwiches. You might also be wondering who graduated last of Jimmy's high school class. Craig Schumacher is the answer. Craig Schumacher. After leaving high school and realizing that college was not really an option, Jimmy's dad proposed a deal. Being an entrepreneur himself, he gave a gentle nudge, a guiding hand, not really with the intention of entrepreneurship, but rather the military. Having served in the Korean War, Jimmy's dad thought his son should join up in some capacity, much like his brothers, so the deal looked like this. Knowing he had to do something, Liautaud chose hot dogs. A strong choice. Jimmy's dad agreed to lend him $25,000 in return for a 48% share in the business, with the stipulation that if the business failed, Jimmy had to join the army for 2 years. But on researching the equipment needed to get into the hot dog game, he found his $25,000 wasn't going to cut it. Hey, Dad. But the bank of Dad wasn't budging on the 25 grand. A different plan would be needed. A chance evening out while visiting a friend at Southern Illinois University would see Jimmy introduced to a local sandwich place by his buddy. What would stand out is just how little equipment is needed. A fridge, a meat slicer, bags of bread, and a cash register. That's it. Sandwiches was now the front runner. Far less overheads, and with the option of making sandwiches or being shot at in a foreign country, Jimmy was now highly motivated, as you would be. Waking up at dawn to iron clothes that will inevitably become creased again in a matter of minutes is a different lifestyle. However, discipline and determination would still be needed. A reconnaissance mission into neighboring states paid off. While looking around various sandwich places, a place in Milwaukee stood out, namely due to the baking of its own bread. Those of you that know about baking bread will know it's a process, not necessarily an easy one. Liautaud went to the library. It was the early 80s. This Amish Google would serve as a research base of knowledge, but ultimately Jimmy John Liautaud would happen on some frozen dough while picking up supplies at a local store. It was better. Liautaud rang the number on the label. He would get through to the owner, Bob Rich. Rich would put Liautaud in touch with a new supplier in his local area that was just starting out. After trying numerous samples, one was chosen, and Jimmy John's continued buying from then on in, helping a small family bakery grow to a large concern. The first Jimmy John's gourmet sandwiches location was by Eastern Illinois University, a converted house and garage sandwiched between a few local bars. The small store opened in 1983 and Jimmy was just 19 years old. With half an eye on proving his success so he could sell up and attend the university, obviously this didn't happen. In the first year, Jimmy John's made sales of $156,000 and an impressive profit of $40,000, splitting the profit with his dad 48-52 of course. Year 2 saw sales of $180,000 with profit at $55 grand. This time, Liautaud paid back his father with compound interest. Now the sole owner and very much not in the army. More stores would be the obvious strategy. To open up a new store is not as easy as it sounds. A big factor is that you can't be in 2 places at once, obviously. Maintaining the same standard is often the problem that arises. A move that Liautaud would implement early on was to incentivize managers with the cut. That way they would be more motivated for the store to succeed. A good tactic and kind of like an early franchising method. Jimmy John's would remain a relatively small regional chain for the next 10 years or so. In the intervening years, he met Jamie Coulter. Coulter was a Pizza Hut franchisee and would later go on to found the chain Lone Star Steakhouse. Coulter was very much a mentor figure at the time. Jimmy Liautaud needed someone with experience of running multiple restaurant units. This all led to the first Jimmy John's franchise being sold in 1994 and was kind of where the real problems start. Like many new franchise systems, there tends to be problems. Jimmy John's was no different. There was company stores and there were franchise stores. The company stores were operating well. The franchise stores, well, not so much. A typical scenario of systems not being implemented correctly was a factor. To rectify this, Liautaud and Jimmy John's president, James North, went on the road to turn around the failing franchises. This was a problem that stemmed from having the wrong franchisees in place, not following company protocol, etc., but also Jimmy John's being too willing to just take the franchise fees, which seems to happen. The short term is people throwing money at you. In this case of Jimmy John's, 25 grand a pop. You're young and money is being hurled at you. Like a more rewarding game of dodgeball, it's easy to get carried away, but the short term gives way to the long term, and now you have work to do to save your business. That consistency is what Jimmy John's has looked to instill as part of the experience. The people involved in delivering this to the customer can make or break it. This was one big learning curve for Lieto. The real world is a willing teacher. Formal education or not, getting the management of people right is very hard. He tells the story of learning how to manage the hard way. Being 19 when you first start your business and start employing people is always going to be tough. One flaw in his early management style that he mentions is that he would do the easy jobs and the easy shifts. This doesn't sit well with the employees. Leading by example is usually the best method for a reason. Whatever your feelings on Jimmy John's or the character that is Jimmy John, with Jimmy himself there is a candor and an honesty that is seldom present with such success. Jimmy Lieto worked hard and pursued a goal, and by his own admission was very lucky. You need luck, but you can't legislate for it. Taking advantage of it is a must. Can Jimmy John's deliver in the long term? While Lieto is no longer running Jimmy John's, having sold his stake in 2019, great timing, the ethos that made Jimmy John successful in the first place still lives on under the leadership of Lieto's right-hand man, James North. One of the issues that the first Jimmy John's location faced was it wasn't a great location, but because of that, delivery would become an important strategy, a defining one. Young college-age people would whiz around the local Jimmy John's vicinity, both delivering and receiving sandwiches on an industrial scale. While obviously not the inventor of such a practice, Jimmy John's was very much a leader, especially when it came to sandwiches. Fast forward to today, and delivery apps are a thing. Suddenly, that competitive advantage is under threat. In 2019, James North made it clear that Jimmy John's doesn't trust third-party delivery apps, stating, "We're doubling down on our promise. We deliver only 5 minutes to the store, and we refuse to use third-party delivery." That draws a line under that. Jimmy John's deal with DoorDash was reported in December 2020. To be fair, Jimmy John's hasn't fully submitted. Jimmy John's will still be using its own delivery drivers. What the company is trying to do is utilize DoorDash's network to attract new customers by being included in DoorDash's app and peripheral services. This is understandable. Without it, at the moment, you are kind of shut out, or at the very least, restricted by reach in comparison to the competition. Jimmy John's prides itself on its delivery. This is a unique selling point. The commercial with a delivery zone that marks out a line that is 5 minutes from the store is designed to imply that Jimmy John's takes delivery seriously. So much so that if you are just slightly over the line, you're out of luck. So if you live within a convenient 5 minutes from your local Jimmy John's, the company will deliver. But if you don't live that close and therefore delivery is more of an attractive option, the company won't deliver. What's more, your neighbor might be able to order, but you can't. I can understand the principle. There has to be a cutoff for delivery areas, but they are usually based on an area rather than a somewhat subjective line which gives your competition some ammunition. And what if your order is cold rather than hot? There's a lot of questions. The commercial is a good one. It makes the point well. I'm just not sure the point is sound. An additional issue with the rise of delivery apps is that the customer is going through them rather than the store itself. Jimmy John's can receive an order through DoorDash, but then wants to deliver using in-house delivery systems. This is added value from Jimmy John's point of view. However, does a typical DoorDash customer see the difference? They order and the food turns up. If Jimmy John's adds value by being really good at delivery, it's highly likely that that makes DoorDash look good. There needs to be more communication of whom is really delivering for this to work, and even then, it won't work 100% in my opinion. Otherwise, you've just signed up to a delivery app and then offer to do the hard bit, the delivery. Jimmy John's is working with nuance that I think has the possibility of being lost in the weeds and makes DoorDash stronger. Jimmy John's could have stuck to the script and said third-party delivery apps are inferior, looked them in the eye, and then drawn a line. And Jimmy John's likes drawing lines. All things Jimmy John's. Let me know. Thanks for watching.